Hello. Hello, everybody. Yes, so we're starting this live stream on Sunday, March 21st. And, things are happening in the market. Crude's down quite a bit. I'm going to check out all the commodities. I know gold's at $14.97. So it closed at Friday at 15.01. And now it's trading at $14.96. So slowly coming back up. And when those moves won't happen till later in the day. Yes, James Rossman. It's hell over in UK. Panic everywhere. The new Italy for sure. Yeah, man. I'm. I have. I have a lot of conspiracy theories that I've researched, and I used to think these conspiracies were fucking crazy, but the more I'm doing my research, things seem really off. You know, when you're seeing that Microsoft guy Bill Gates, there's videos of him talking about how that he knew about this virus coming about, but then on top of that, he wants like forced vaccines, and then he wants to have like uh global digital ID for everybody. So I got my the conspiracy's all backed by research, and I'm not the only person that's talking about this stuff. There's lots of other people that are understanding, but to me, this is like this virus was man-made, and they're doing this on purpose, and then they're gonna force more control on the people to do things. So, um, yeah, I'm getting scared as well out here in Canada, man. Uh, I'm hearing that they're letting out prisoners from the jail cells. Yeah, things are getting crazy. So we have to trust friends and family, and we have to look out for ourselves one day at a time. Things are acting very wild. I'm just gonna look at the other commodities right now. It didn't seem like a lot were up. Yeah, I mean gold's up 0.88%. It says U.S. 0.2%. Orange juice is up about 6%. Live kettle's up about 4.6%. Platinum's up the most for all the precious metals. It's up by 2.35%, but platinum just got crushed. I mean, platinum's being more expensive than gold, so I mean, there's definitely a bullish case for platinum. The bearish case for platinum is the fact that it's in catalytic converters. So if a lot of these GM or whatever kind of companies aren't really building automobiles and they want to own a safe haven in precious metals, I think platinum is a very good precious metal. And it's been a lot higher than gold for a lot of years. I mean, people used to revere that platinum was, super, and it was amazing of a metal. And now, I mean, people don't even look at it. But meanwhile, palladium went as high as about $3,000, and people never knew what palladium was up until about this year, pretty much. I mean, it had big moves in 2018 as well, but people didn't really know about it. People don't know about rhodium either. So, I mean, if you're interested in precious metals, I mean, owning a bit of platinum is not a bad idea, in my opinion. James Rossman says it's 100% man-made for sure, either on purpose or an accidental F-up that it was released. Yeah, no, I agree, man. I don't want to scare some of my viewers and subscribers with this information, so I don't want to go too far into this rabbit hole. But there's a lot of information if you look online on ID 2020, Bill Gates, and or Bill Gates coronavirus, and how he talks about stuff back in 2020. And the way I look at it, and in simplest terms, it's a devised plan with China, and Bill Gates is working with China to do this satanistic stuff on Earth. That's what I think. So yeah, it's we're in definitely interesting times, and they also don't want people talking to each other. So people aren't talking to each other. US soybeans are up about 0.25%. What other things are moving in the markets? US wheat is down a little bit. Oats are down a little bit. Soybean oils down a little bit. Crude oils down at $22.51. It didn't go below $20. So I just went out for groceries and I got some stuff. And I'm going to have this chocolate by Tilray, ticker TLRY. And this is 80 calories, and it's 10 milligram THC and 10 milligram CBD. And excuse me, these are pretty inexpensive as far as the edibles in Canada go. So this is the milk chocolate. I don't think I've done the milk chocolate one on any of my live streams or any of my videos, but I've done the just the straight 10 milligram THC Chowie Wowie. And this is the same price as the other one, but it also comes with 10 milligram CBD. So I just think it's a better dollar like value. So I bought this one. Okay. So nickel's down 1.7%. I mean, I have a thesis that if military really starts to go into effect, that nickel can really go up a lot. Why do I talk about these commodities? Because for a lot of these commodities, there's a back there's a company that's involved in these metals, and so if I start to see the moves that are like, say it's way down, and I believe the commodity is going to go up, then you can play the stock with the commodity in it. And you can also, for precious metals, you can buy precious metals as a safety haven. So that's also another thing. Yeah, I mean, they want people locked inside. They don't want people talking to each other. They close the churches. They want everybody divided, in my opinion. And then the government's going to do some crazy stuff. Copper is down quite a bit by 4%. Wow. So coppers use a lot in electricity, and Freeport McMoran is the copper company that I think about, and they're trading almost at below $1, like below $2, I mean, per pound in US dollars. So it's getting very inexpensive for copper. It back at the it seemed like 3 to 6 months ago, copper was almost $3 a pound. So that's a big drop. Brent oil is the oil that's in Saudi Arabia, excuse me, and that's trading at $26. So usually back when oil was about $55-$60, then Brent oil would usually be $10 to $15 more expensive, but now it's only $3.50 more expensive for cannabis this week. Very, very briefly, like very intense, focused, are companies like CV Sciences, CVSI, Planet 13, PLTH in Canada. I'm not sure what it is in America. Some guys got innovative industrial properties last week when it dropped to $42. And if they would have sold it at like $55-$60, that's pretty good return. You're talking about like 25-30% returns on that. So, and it closed at $60. And that's one of the big cannabis companies. So they do lease backs. They give companies money for lease backs. And then the companies will pay leases. So they'll pay monthly back to IPR. But they got big amounts of debt on their books based on the fact that they own all these properties and they give these companies money. So I don't know. I think that they could definitely have to take impairment charges in the future if they say they gave the company too much money for valued for that property, then the property's not worth as much in the future. So Kush bottles, they're 55 cents. So I mean, this is a company that's been about $8, and they're one of the biggest companies for revenues in USA. So I think if the cannabis market does go up a lot, I think Kush bottles should do pretty good. And Zenabis, ZENA, is went up 15%, and they have to drop their financials pretty soon, and then they're also dropping beverage lines. I mean, the companies are dropping beverage lines, right? Every Tilray company, the same as a chocolate bar, and then what other company? Well, Valence, they got CBD beverages. They don't have a THC beverage, but and what other one? Xanabis is gonna have a beverage, and Hexa will have beverages, and some other companies might have beverages as well. I heard a rumor that Aurora Cannabis was gonna have beverages under Med Release brand with San Rafael. So that'd be pretty popular, I bet. Yeah, so ACB closed at $1.05 in US and Canadian dollars. They closed at $1.05, right? So that's good for Aurora Cannabis. There's a lot of outstanding shares with Aurora Cannabis. So basically that'd be trading at about 75 cents, 78 cents in USD. But they are one of the biggest companies for sure. I mean, there's a lot of people saying they're going to do a reverse split or go bankrupt, but they are one of the biggest, so who knows? But yeah, I'd definitely be a little careful with that one. And MetaPharm Labs is one of the better extraction companies, so they were up 7%. So I could definitely see that continue on next week, as well as Valence. But if the market does really bad in the morning, say the SPY closes, opens at say like 10% down, or they have to close it, there could be a lot of downward pressure on these cannabis stocks as well. So that's the problem. Yeah, well, now Canopy is a better stock, James Rossman, than they used to be, based on they got the Constellations guys. So I look at Canopy a lot differently than I used to. I used to talk a lot more trash, and but I like the direction they're going. I like that they've accumulated a bigger cash position based on selling marketable securities. So what marketable securities are basically stocks. So Canopy, they had $1.7 billion in investments in different companies, and then they just decided to sell those assets, investments, and then put it into their cash reserves to grow their cash position. So I like that idea because there's no assurance that those cannabis stocks aren't going to be worth a lot less in the future. And right now, I think in the market or any industry, cash is king. Yeah, cash is king. So the and they're also, they're shutting down some facilities that are too expensive and things like that. So I like the direction they're going. But if I was to look at their financials, their next financials, because I've been doing report card series, right? I'll give these companies like A plus, C plus, B plus, D minus, whatever. But looking forward in the future, I can see their next financial will probably be pretty crappy, and I'll have to give them bad report card score. But I'm talking 6 months, 12 months future. They should get a lot better for their financials outlook, as long as their CEO's doing what he says he's gonna do. So yeah, Valens at $2.03 in Canada, so that'd be about $1.50 in USD with VLNCF. I think that's definitely a good opportunity, but there's definitely risk in the cannabis sector. Trulieve as well, TRUL, closed at $9.51. I could see the company go to $15, but at the same time I could also see it go back down to about $5 Canadian, because there's a share unlock going down. So it's going to be probably pretty volatile, as well as a lot of the stocks in the cannabis sector. But I just think that it can go to $15, $20 potentially. They sold a lot of flour recently, last week, so they're selling more, but I don't think they're getting as much money for per gram. But they're one of the biggest for sure in USA. So as far as company that sells cannabis, I think they're definitely one of the best in the USA. But the share unlock and just the whole sector in total, as well as their cash position, isn't that great. I mean, I'm thinking their cash position is probably around 65, 70 million max. So when you got companies such as Canopy that's got 1.6 billion, or Kronos that got 1.6 billion, they're just a lot higher up the food chain. It doesn't matter how much revenues they're doing, they're just way higher up the food chain. So, but if Trulieve was able to get a lot of money, then it would change the whole dynamic. So, hey JG, how's it going? Give me a thumbs up. I'll show you something. I'm not supposed to have it in this house, but I don't really care because it's not it's close. So this is a container for Village Farms. So this is Afghan Kush, and it says 19.1% THC and 0% CBD. So the lot was January 24th. So it's about 2 months old that it was packaged, but I like the way they make these containers. I had some of that last night. I got a gram of Afghan Kush and no complaints. I mean, that stuff relaxes you pretty good. So yeah, I'm having, and I had one of these Chowie Wowie, 10 milligram THC. So you don't fill it right away. So I'll fill it more in a bit, but yeah, I mean, I just think it's pretty crazy the way this world's working. Nobody's questioning the government, right? The way they're doing things. They're like, oh yeah, oops, I just smoked myself in the eye. Nobody's questioning. Everybody's just submissive towards the government. I'm scared, man. So yeah, where do you get your flower from, JG? So I was talking with James Rossman about some other companies. True Leaf is definitely to be looked at this week. Metafarm Labs, Village Farms. I mean, Village Farms at 239. I mean, I think they have the potential to own 100% of that Pure Sun Farms relationship. You know, I'll get back to what you said. How long do you think they can get? Um, will they stay around or go bankrupt for Emerald Health? And they just raised 2.2 million. So I mean, how long is that going to last them? I mean, that was in February. So I mean, I think Emerald Health is just they're in a scary place right now, in my opinion. JG says, "Sweet, that old the stuff. 2 months isn't that bad. I mean, it's 1 gram stuff. Um, so when you got lots of 1 grams in different strains, sometimes they're not going to move as well. But I don't know. I think 2 months is fine. When it's like 6 months old or whatever, or 8 months old, then that's not great. I mean, in a perfect system, you're getting the stuff that's packaged like 1 or 2 weeks away. But I mean, it's pretty decent stuff. I've never had really good complaint with Pure Sun Farm stuff. You get your stuff at a Cresco dispensary. Emerald is garbage. Yeah, no, man. I'm not very bullish and just be decimated into nothing. And you know, Village Farms will eventually own 100% of that whole partnership. That's my thinking. I mean, how long that's going to take out, who knows? But I think it's in the works. I mean, I think that the upper management with Village Farms definitely doesn't want to be partners with Emerald anymore. So yeah, I wouldn't. That's not a company that I recommend people to own. Emerald Health. I mean, I think Village Farms is pretty solid, but I mean, if you look on the technical summary on investing.com, they still say it's a strong sell. So they say, I mean, there's just not a lot of upward momentum in the market. I mean, even MetaFarm, it says daily strong sell. Village Farms says strong sell. I mean, yeah. So I mean, they had a big day, right? On Friday, but there's no assurances that this is going to just stay around for Monday, Tuesday. But I mean, these indicators can change, and it could be extremely bullish on some different type of news that comes our way. So JG says ours comes from each individual state, so it's always fresh. Like I said, I just bought some, and it was packaged the day before I bought it. Yeah. Well, the way it works in BC and in other provinces as well, you got the you got that licensed producer that they'll make all their products, right? So even if it's packaged that day, it's very well that could have been sitting around for a month or 2 months prior, right? And that's just the reality. And then when they put it in the package, that's the package date. But the reality is that then it gets sent out to the government, and then the government, then there's all these, they got the BC cannabis stores. There's, I don't know how many there is. I think there's like 10 or so, and there plans to be about 20 or so across BC by the end of 2020, maybe more. But then when you do, so they'll set like the BC cannabis stores, they'll have first dibs on ordering their lots, and then all the other producers that have their dispensaries, they'll start ordering all the stuff, and then it'll get to them, right? If the government wasn't involved, and then just the dispensaries could just order from, Village Farms or Canopy Growth or whatever, then you would have it a lot fresher, I believe. This is never old. You want a picture? Yeah, if you can get it. I don't know if you can put it on the live stream, but sure. If you got the picture, send me. I'm gonna go to a few other cannabis stocks. So MariMed, I I need to get rid of this stock. I think it's in a bad position. GRWG, like MRMD, they had 30% of Gencana, which was a big CBD hemp player, but they're in creditor protection, so they're like pretty much going bankrupt, and so that affects their company. But they also have dispensaries in Massachusetts and Illinois, I believe. One of the other states, or both of them, and they do some business. But GRWG is getting back on top at $3. I think GRWG is a good stock to watch. I mean, as far as a day trade, I mean, I think holding any of these stocks overnight, for the most part, is pretty much sabotage, because it's going to be all based on all the mainstream media and all the negative outlooks on stuff. So, because just think about it, if Canopy Growth was told by the government that their biggest facility had to be shut down, or Village Farms facility had to be shut down for 2 months, that would be a big kick in the nuts for these companies. So that's the problem with holding these companies overnight, and that's just the reality of things. So I'm looking at doing getting my own hat. I know there's like other YouTubers, they got their own swag and stuff, and it was gonna be like CISG, and then maybe on the back it'd be like Shaka, or I don't know, calm down your info. I don't know. I might just do it just for fun, just to have my own hat for these live streams and videos. I don't know. Got so much more time at home, because now these jobs aren't going to start, because the whole government and the whole economy is pretty much shut down except essential services. Uh, so what other ones? 5G. 5G. Yeah, AT&T, T ticker, and Intel, INTC, and Verizon. But I don't know. I think we need to look at puts if you want to play the market. Companies like SDS is Bear Spy ETF, or SQQ. Those, but then also play if Apple goes down a lot, maybe they go down to $200, and then they rip up to 205. I mean, you can make 2% or whatever. There's just different ways in the market, but I think as far as holding stocks overnight, I think it's, for the most part, it's sabotage in these markets, and it's a death wish. And I also don't think people should be investing into very small companies, Pretty much any small company that you have, you should pretty much just eliminate that company because it it's all about cash flow right now, and the little companies have no cash. And if they're told to be shut down or anything like that, like they're just gonna be go bankrupt. So that's the scary thing about owning the small companies. So that's why SDS is spare. What's so SDS is Pro Shares Ultra Short. So it's just an ETF that shorts it, and the SQQ is Pro Shares Ultra Pro Short QQQ. So SQQQ did 10%, excuse me, on Friday. And what did SDS do? They were up 9%. So the SQQQ did better. So I mean, that's the way to play the markets. Will the virus stocks work this week potentially? Um, like maybe CODX, maybe. No, CODX not doing anything. And I want to look at mRNA has pretty good cash position. Yeah, no, they're not doing anything. Yeah, I think the big surge of buying for these drugs or whatever are kind of dying away because so many other companies are doing it. So I mean, maybe that INO, yeah, INO was up by 11% on Friday. So I think I mean the devil, I'll call him the devil. Bill Gates is the devil, and he wants to have us all chipped so that they can watch you wherever you go. But he invested money into INO. So yeah, that INO stock can go a lot higher. Uh, Bill Gates and Microsoft are just too big, and they're a big force. They're $1 trillion company, and it's scary the power that guy's has. Because yeah, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but well, I'm just gonna play some music, and I'm gonna go through dividend stocks, but I'm just gonna play music for like 30 seconds. All right, I'm back. Yeah, so a company that I'm really looking at. Okay, say goodbye to James Rossman. Yeah, great insight again. Thank you. You take care, man. Be safe out there, and just be careful out there. The world's getting to be very crazy. And see you soon. And JG says to have a good one as well. Thanks for the contributions, James, today, and Shaka Capice. Yeah, so with another company to look into that I really, really do like is Ab InBev, which is Anheuser-Busch InBev, and their ticker is BUD. Okay, so their PE ratio is 8.9, right? So in the last year, this stock's been as high as about $105. And I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it kind of as a hawk, just be the hawk in the night. So a high of 101.69, right? So it went as low as about $34, and now it's coming up from the bottom at $40. So I can easily see this stock go to 60, $70 in the near term. But it could go lower as well. But I know the company makes a lot of money in revenues, and they have pretty good cash position. So I really do like Bud. I'll write the ticker. Yeah, I like Bud. What's their dividend? What's their dividend? Because I mean, if this isn't a completely, but I do think there's a lot of more downside on the SPY though. To be honest, I mean, for all we know, we could see Apple at $70. So the dividend for Bud is a dividend of 88 cents and a yield of 4.4%. So that's pretty good. And yeah, I mean, it says their price to book's at 1. So that's the price to book means the value of their stock versus their book value. So their book value is just worth a little less than what their market cap is. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. A friend's interested in Boeing, and Boeing, Boeing. I mean, Boeing at $95, but they got a 8% dividend. But there's a lot of messed up things. I mean, maybe they got a big bailout for all we know in the next day or two. So I don't know what's gonna happen, man. What do you think, JG? What do you think is gonna happen if you're still around? I mean, the SPY. Let's look at the S&P 500 futures. So the S&P 500 futures, you can check it out, and I'll send a link on my comment section. It's down 4.6% already. Okay, so that's pretty big. Pretty big. I'll send the link right here. Yeah, so the S&P 500 mini SI is at 2182. So some experts think that it should bottom around 210 SPY, 200 SPY, but if it doesn't drop, if it goes further below that, I mean there's more downward pressure that the SPY could really go. I mean, so the bottom where it hit in 2016 was about 1875 SPY. So there's a argument for sure that the SPY can go to 1875. So we'll see. If it breaks below that, then I mean you could be talking about 1416 SPY or 1274 SPY or 1169 SPY. So that would be going back to 2011. So I don't know how far they're gonna make this go down, but I'm just putting it out there that there's definitely negative pressure that this market could go down a lot. Some experts believe that the Dow can go down to 6,000 because that was before Obama was in power and they spiked the whole markets. So I mean 6,000 Dow is pretty big because the Dow is at last I looked was like 19,000. So that's just crazy, right? Dow 30 is the top 30 stocks, I believe, and it's at 19,174. Now, if the Dow goes to 6,000, then you're talking about stocks such as Apple trading at 235, then it could go to about $75, right? So at 240, Apple's worth about, I'm thinking under $1 trillion, maybe like 900 billion. But there's definitely an argument to say that Apple should only be worth 200 billion, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why there's an argument to say about that Apple's only worth this much. Okay, so Apple has $250 billion in cash. Okay, now they have $90 billion in debt. So you minus that, that's $160 billion, right? So who's to say that they couldn't be worth only 300 billion, right? So then you're saying that their whole business is worth about 140 billion. I mean, I think that's very cheap, and I mean, it would definitely be a buy if it went down to 300 billion as long as the world doesn't fall apart. But there's definitely an argument to say that uh, Apple could be worth $300 billion, and that would be where Apple goes to about $80 a stock. So Dow 6,000, and then Apple being at about $80, and that's where you're going to see stocks like Microsoft be worth a third of their price. Yeah, I think there's definitely an argument to go short on the market. If you have a long position, if you have long position and this continuously goes down, um, it can hedge your risk, right? SQQ or SDS hedges your long position. So that's what it does. I mean, you can hedge your downside risk by playing a put or two. So you could do puts on the SPY, and but the premiums are so expensive when you're playing the puts, right? I mean, you're paying a lot of money for premiums on these puts, so it's can be almost really hard to win your trade. But if you buy SQQ or SDS, then basically it's just leverage for the downside risk. So say the SPY goes down 5% tomorrow, well then that's going to go down about 10%. It's going to go up 10%, so you're going to get 10% in profit. So I don't want to bore you guys too much with that stuff, but I'll get into some other stuff. So yeah, I mean Nilsey in the nickel market at 1978. So there's an article, I'll just read the title, and it says, Russian stocks may not be as weak as they look. The old adage says that Russia is never as strong as she looks or as weak as she looks. It was warning to foreign. So that's an interesting tale. Russia stocks, they're very much owned by the government, and that's kind of how it's going to happen in USA, that all the stocks are going to be owned by the government. So, and what else? Look at some other ones that could be potential goods. So, for puts, I have a puts watch list, and puts are Tesla and Axum Therapeutics. But again, when you're playing puts, just know when you're fairly good in the money, just get out, because the implied volatility will, when the theta decay, you'll lose a lot of that money that you gain. So say you got 30%, 50% on your contract, then all of a sudden, if you think it's going to go down further, but it doesn't really go down further and it just stays the same, then all of a sudden that theta decay will it'll decay all your interest that you gained on your stock put. So that's what's up. And Tesla, TSLA, and Axum Therapeutics, AXSM. So I don't know what AXSM is doing actually, because they went up 17% on Friday. So maybe they have something up their sleeve, or it was just a little dead cat bounce, right? So a dead cat bounce is just, it goes down, and then all of a sudden it goes up like 5 or 10%, and then it goes down even further, right? So all the smartest investors, they watch for dead cat bounces, but then when it bounces up, then they increase their short, or they increase their puts. So that's how they're playing the market. But if you guys got any more questions, if you guys aren't being very active, I'm probably gonna get going in the next 10 to 20 minutes. So, but I'm gonna talk about some other stuff. But if you got any questions you want to ask, just leave it in the comment, and I can answer that. So, but let me looking at some other stuff. So for puts as well, airline, I think airline's definitely on watch. You could even play dead cat bounce potentially. So the way I see the market's going to happen probably tomorrow is it's going to go down a lot, and they're probably going to halt it. And then when it unhalts, it maybe it'll go up like 3 to 5% or whatever, and then it'll go down even further, and it's going to be dangerous. So UVXY will probably do very good. The VIX will probably do pretty good, but it's also very expensive, the VIX. So UVXY. So and companies such as Delta Airlines, DAL, or uh, American Airlines, AAL, and Southwest Airlines, LUV, and United Airline Holdings, UAL. I think those could be on watch, whether you're playing the downside on puts, or you're playing the upside on calls, or you're playing just a bounce, right? You say you get say it goes down 10% or whatever, and you think you got it at the bottom, then I recommend putting a Bollinger setting in your stocks. So in whenever you're doing, you put Bollingers, and then when it hits the bottom of the Bollingers on a certain timeline, and it makes sense, but you also watch your stop loss, right? So say a stock's at $10 and all of a sudden it goes down to $8. Then if it goes down to like 750, you close out of your position, no ifs, ands, or buts, and then you just get going. So anyways, I think I'm gonna get going. So I'll play a little. Hello, some people that just came in here. If you got some questions you want to ask me about the markets or anything going on, feel free. I'm gonna get going. I'm just gonna play the music. Got another minute and 50 seconds, but Wow. Well, there's an article that says unemployment could reach 30% in America, and in the Great Depression, the unemployment rate was 25%. So that's wild. I'm gonna get going. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Shaka. Peace. I'm out. Thanks for listening. Keep compounding info. Listen to my lingo and shaka. Peace. I'm out.